My name's Jake Tanner, 34 years old, and I've been married to my wife, Lila, for 6 years. We've been together 8, if you count the 2 years we dated before I popped the question. Looking back, there were signs I should have paid attention to, but love's got a way of making you blind, doesn't it? I'm just a regular guy, work construction, like my hands dirty, and try to keep the bills paid. Lila's 32, a part-time hairdresser who's lately been obsessed with turning our little farmhouse into some kind of picture-perfect dream for her online friends. Me, I just wanted a roof over our heads that didn't leak. Last Wednesday, we got hit with a storm straight out of a disaster movie, rain coming down in sheets, wind howling like it was mad at the world. Our barn out back had been falling apart for months. The roof was sagging, shingles peeling off, and every time it rained, water poured in, soaking the hay I'd stacked for the couple of horses we keep. Lila had been on my case about it nonstop. She said the barn looked like an eyesore, that it was ruining the vibe she was going for with her little photo shoots she posted online. She'd been dreaming up this idea of hosting some fancy farm-to-table dinner for her followers, and a busted barn wasn't part of the plan. So, despite the weather guy on the radio saying it'd be a washout, I took my day off to fix it. I figured I'd rather deal with the rain than another week of Lila's nagging. I grabbed my tools, threw on my old work jacket, and spent 9 hours out there in that mess. The rain stung my face, the wind nearly knocked me off the ladder twice, and by hour 3, I couldn't feel my hands. But I kept at it, hammering nails, patching holes, doing what my old man taught me. Take care of what's yours, no excuses. By the time I was done, I was soaked through, shaking like a leaf, and half convinced I'd catch my death of cold. All I wanted was to get inside, warm up, maybe hear Lila say she appreciated it. I trudged into the house, dripping water on the hardwood floor we'd just refinished last year. Lila was lounging on the recliner I'd saved up for, the one she'd begged me to buy because it matched her rustic chic look. She was glued to her phone, as usual, giggling at something with her best friend, Tara, who was sprawled on the couch sipping one of those fruity cocktails they loved. I stood there, waiting for one of them to notice me, but Lila didn't even glance up. Finally, she wrinkled her nose and said, "God, Jake, you smell like a wet dog. Go clean up before you ruin the furniture I picked out." Then, loud enough for Tara to hear, she added, "Sometimes I wish he'd just get lost in that storm and save me the hassle." Tara cackled like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. I felt my face burn, a mix of rain and something hotter stinging my eyes. I wanted to yell, to ask her why she'd say something like that after I'd just busted my back for her stupid barn. But I didn't. I just turned, grabbed a towel, and headed for the shower. Stood under the hot water for a good half hour, trying to wash away the chill and the hurt. That night, lying in bed while Lila scrolled through her phone with her back to me, I started thinking. She hadn't said thanks, hadn't asked if I was okay, hadn't even checked the barn. And then it hit me. I couldn't remember the last time she'd pitched in on anything around here. The next morning, while she was out getting her nails done, I sat down with our bank statements. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe that comment about me getting lost just wouldn't leave my head. What I found turned my stomach. Lila had opened 2 credit cards I didn't know about, both in my name, with balances totaling $18,000. Charges for fancy clothes, spa days, stuff I'd never seen her bring home. Worse, she'd been siphoning cash from our joint account, $150 here, $250 there, into her own little stash. Money I'd been busting my hump for, thinking we were saving for a new truck or maybe a vacation someday. I called my buddy, Mike, a welder I've known since high school. Told him I needed to talk. Asked if we could meet at the old diner off Route 12, the one with the chipped mugs and no Wi-Fi, where nobody's snapping pictures of their food. Over coffee and a plate of fries, I laid it all out, the barn, her wishing I'd disappear, the money. Mike just listened, then asked, "If I told you this story, Jake, what did you say?" I didn't hesitate. "I'd say get out, man. She's using you like a damn ATM with a hammer." He nodded, and that was that. That night, Lila asked me to fix the porch light she wanted for her next photo shoot. Said it'd be perfect for some golden hour nonsense she was planning. I asked her about the credit cards instead. She flipped out, tears streaming, saying I was trying to trap her, that I didn't get how hard she worked to build her image. The next day, I packed a bag and crashed at Mike's place. Turned off my phone. When I turned it back on 2 days later, I had 42 missed calls from Lila, not because she cared where I was, but because the barn door had blown open in the wind, and she needed me to fix it. I didn't call back. I was done. So there I was, camped out on Mike's lumpy old couch, a million miles from the life I'd been living just a few days ago. My name's Jake Tanner, 34, and I just walked away from my wife, Lila, after 6 years of marriage. That first night at Mike's, I barely slept. Kept replaying her voice in my head. Sometimes I wish he'd just get lost in that storm and save me the hassle, and picturing those bank statements with $18,000 of debt she'd racked up behind my back. I'd spent 9 hours in a downpour fixing that barn for her, and she couldn't even muster a thanks before wishing me gone. It was a punch to the gut, but it woke me up. Mike's place was a bachelor pad through and through, mismatched furniture, a fridge full of beer and leftover pizza, and a TV that only got 3 channels if you smacked it just right. He didn't ask too many questions, just tossed me a blanket and said, "Stay as long as you need, man." I appreciated that. Needed the quiet to think. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing like a hornet's nest, 42 missed calls from Lila, plus a string of texts that started mad and ended with her whining about the barn door swinging loose. Not one message asked if I was okay, just demands to come home and fix it. I left it on silent and went to make coffee. By day 2, I knew I couldn't just sit there feeling sorry for myself. I grabbed my truck keys and headed to the bank. Figured if Lila could hide credit cards, I'd better lock down what was left of my money. I opened a new account at a different bank, First National, not the little credit union we'd used together, and had my construction paycheck rerouted there. Then I sat down with a banker, a nice lady named Carol, and went through every statement I could get my hands on. Turns out those 2 secret credit cards weren't the half of it. There was a third one, buried under some old mail I'd never opened, with another $6,000 on it, mostly charges for stuff like luxury hair tools and weekend getaways she'd never told me about. Carol helped me file fraud reports for the cards I didn't authorize, shaking her head like she'd seen this movie before. When I got back to Mike's, he was welding something in his garage, sparks flying, radio blaring classic rock. I told him what I'd found, and he just whistled low. "She's been bleeding you dry, Jake. What's your next move?" I didn't have a full answer yet, but I knew I needed a plan. So I called up my old boss, Hank, who taught me the construction trade back when I was a kid with more muscle than sense. He's retired now, but he's still sharp as a tack. We met at the diner, same one I'd gone to with Mike, and over greasy burgers, I spilled the whole mess, the barn, Lila's comment, the money she'd been siphoning. Hank chewed his fries slow, then said, "Son, you've been carrying her weight too long. Time to cut the rope. You got a lawyer yet?" I didn't, but he gave me a name, Ellen Price, a no-nonsense divorce attorney he swore by. That night, Lila's text took a turn. She went from barking orders to playing worried wife. "Jake, where are you? People are asking why you're not around. It's embarrassing." Then a picture of the barn door, all crooked in the wind, with a caption, "This is on you." I didn't bite. Next day, she called my sister, Beth, who I'd already clued in. Beth's never been Lila's biggest fan, called her high maintenance from day one, and she shut that down fast, told Lila I was fine and to quit bothering her. By day 4, Lila was desperate. She showed up at my job site, a new house we're framing out on the edge of town. I was up on a scaffold when I saw her pull up in her little red car, hair perfect, heels clicking on the gravel. She yelled up at me, "Jake, we need to talk. You can't just vanish like this." I kept hammering, told her I'd call when I was ready. She stood there fuming, then peeled out, kicking up dust. That's when things got wild. Mike got a call from Tara, Lila's best friend, saying Lila was telling everyone I'd lost my mind, said I'd been unstable for months, that she was scared of me. Mike laughed so hard he nearly dropped his phone, then showed Tara the screenshots I'd saved, the credit card bills, the text about the barn door, Lila's voice in a voicemail cussing me out for not coming home. Tara went quiet, then said she'd call me later. When she did, it was like talking to a different person. She sounded shaky, said she was sorry for laughing when Lila wished I'd get lost. Then she hit me with something big. Lila had been texting some guy named Ryan for weeks, flirty stuff, late-night calls. Tara had seen it at one of their wine nights, asked Lila about it, and got brushed off with, "It's just for fun, keeps my followers guessing." I asked if Ryan might be getting money from her too. Tara didn't know, but the way she paused made me think I'd hit a nerve. A week into staying at Mike's, I decided it was time to face the music. Not to patch things up, nah, that ship had sailed, but to take control. Hank's lawyer friend, Ellen, had told me over the phone to get back in the house, document what was mine, protect my stake. So I drove home, pulled into the gravel driveway, and walked in like I was stepping into a stranger's place. Lila was on the recliner, phone in hand, scrolling like nothing had changed. She jumped up when she saw me, eyes wide, and launched into this whole act, hugging me, crying, asking where I'd been, saying she'd been so worried. I dodged the hug, set my bag down, and watched her switch gears. When she saw I wasn't buying it, she got mad, started listing all the ways she'd supported me, like how she'd let me use her car once when my truck was in the shop. I cut her off, told her I knew about the cards, the cash transfers, Ryan. Her face froze, then twisted into this snarl. "You're spying on me now? That's low, Jake." The next hour was a shouting match. She called me paranoid, said I was ruining her life, that I never appreciated how hard she worked to look good for us. I didn't yell back, just let her tire herself out. When she finally stormed off to the bedroom, I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on the porch, staring at that barn I'd fixed. The door was still swinging loose, creaking in the breeze. I didn't fix it. I was done playing handyman for someone who'd rather see me gone. I'm Jake Tanner, 34, and I just moved back into my own house after a week at Mike's, not to fix things with my wife, Lila, but to stake my claim before the divorce I knew was coming. That first night back, after our blowout over the credit cards and this Ryan guy she'd been texting, I didn't sleep much. Lila had slammed the bedroom door, and I'd crashed on the old pull-out couch in the living room, listening to the barn door creak outside. It was a restless night, the kind where every noise feels like a reminder of how sideways your life's gone. Morning came, and I got up before Lila, made coffee, strong and black, and sat at the kitchen table with a notepad. My lawyer, Ellen Price, had told me to write down everything, every bill, every fight, every dime Lila owed me. So I started scribbling. The $24,000 in credit card debt she'd piled up in my name, the cash she'd siphoned from our joint account, the 9 hours I'd spent fixing that barn in the rain just for her to wish I'd disappear. It was a long list, and seeing it on paper made my chest tight. I'd been a fool, working my tail off for a woman who didn't give a damn. Lila stumbled out around 10, hair a mess, still in her pajamas. She saw me at the table and froze, like she wasn't sure what version of me she'd get today. I didn't look up, just kept writing. She grabbed a mug, poured some coffee, and sat across from me, scrolling her phone like it was a shield. Finally, she broke the silence. So, what? You're back now? Gonna act like nothing happened? I set my pen down, looked her square in the eye, and said, I'm here till this is settled. We're done, Lila. I know about Ryan, the money, all of it. We're living separate under this roof till the lawyer sorts it out. Her jaw dropped, then she laughed sharp. Me? You're serious? You think you can just dictate how this goes? I didn't flinch. Told her the new rules. I wasn't fixing another thing in this house. She'd pay half the bills starting now, and the joint account was locked, already done at the bank. I said she had a month to explain those credit card charges or the fraud reports I'd filed would stick. She stared at me like I'd grown horns, then tried calling my bluff. That afternoon, the kitchen sink started leaking, dripping steady onto the floor. She marched into the living room, where I was watching a ball game, and said, Jake, fix this. It's your job. I handed her a business card for a plumber I knew from work, told her to call him, and turned back to the TV. She stood there, fuming, then stomped off muttering about how I'd regret this. The next few days were a test of wills. Lila kept pushing, like she thought I'd cave. The barn door kept banging in the wind. She dragged the ladder out herself, climbed up in her flip-flops, and nearly fell trying to tie it shut with some old rope. I watched from the porch, sipping a beer, and didn't move a muscle. She glared at me, but I just shrugged. Then came the big storm, a real gully washer, thunder rattling the windows. The barn roof I'd fixed held up fine, but the house roof, which I hadn't touched, started dripping right over Lila's fancy vanity in the spare room where she did her hair videos. She came running, hair wet, yelling, Jake, do something. This is ruining everything. I pointed to a bucket in the corner and said, that's what you've got me for, right? Buckets and ladders. Then I grabbed my keys and drove to Hank's place to talk shop about maybe starting my own cruise someday. Hank's a big guy, grizzled from years on job sites, and he's got this old farmhouse full of tools and wisdom. We sat in his workshop, him tinkering with a busted chainsaw, me spilling how Lila was losing it over a leak I wouldn't fix. He chuckled, said, you're finally growing a backbone, Jake. She's used to you jumping when she snaps. Keep standing your ground. He told me to start saving every receipt, every text, anything that'd hold up in court. Said Ellen would eat that up. Back home, Lila's war games kicked up a notch. She started calling around, my sister Beth, Mike, even my mom, who's been half-deaf since I was a kid but still caught Lila's sob story about me abandoning her. Mom called me after, laughing, said, that girl thinks I'm dumb enough to buy her tears. Told her you're my boy, and I know you better than that. Lila tried Tara too, but Tara wasn't playing along anymore, not after hearing about Ryan and seeing those bank records I'd sent her. Tara texted me late one night, said Lila was spinning tales to their friends, saying I'd been reckless with money, that I'd driven us into debt. I sent Tara the fraud reports, the transfer logs, shut that lie down fast. Then the real kicker came. A week after I'd moved back, we got hit with another storm. The barn held, but the house roof was leaking worse now, water pooling in the hallway. Lila lost it, screamed at me, threw a towel at my head, said I was useless. I didn't budge. She called some cheap handyman she found online, guy named Pete who showed up in a beat-up van with a ladder half my size. I watched from the window as he poked around up there, slipping in the rain, making it worse. Next day, the leak was a steady stream, and Pete was nowhere to be found. Lila came to me, eyes red, begging me to fix it. I told her to call Pete back, that I was off duty. She cried, real tears this time, not the fake ones, and said, I can't afford this, Jake. I'm drowning. I almost felt bad. Almost. That night, I found something else. Going through old mail I'd ignored, I saw a letter from our mortgage company, late payment notices, 3 months behind. Lila'd been supposed to handle that with her hairdressing money, but it was news to me we were in the hole. I confronted her, and she admitted she'd spent it on business expenses, meaning clothes and props for her online gig. Said she thought I'd cover it like always. I called Ellen the next morning, told her everything. She said, Jake, this is gold. Documented all pictures of the leaks, the notices, her texts. We're building a case she can't wiggle out of. So I did. Snapped photos of the water stains, the busted roof, saved every message. Felt like a detective in my own house. By the end of week 2 back home, Lila was different, quieter, like the fight was draining out of her. She slid a bank statement across the table one morning, showing she'd paid off one of the smaller credit cards with her own cash, $3,000 down, still $21,000 to go. Said she'd been saving it for a new salon chair, but she'd used it to start making things right. Then she looked at me, no phone in her hand for once, and asked if we could try again. I didn't laugh, didn't yell. Just told her I'd found text on her phone, to Ryan, planning a trip for the week I'd been at Mike's. She'd never gone, but the intent was there. Her face crumpled, and she Didn't say another word. I went to bed in the spare room, door locked, thinking maybe I'd finally drawn a line she couldn't cross. I'm Jake Tanner, 34, and I'd been back in my house with Lila for 2 weeks, living like roommates on the edge of a cliff. That morning she'd slid a bank statement my way, showing she'd paid off one of her secret credit cards, $3,000 down. A drop in the bucket next to the $21,000 still hanging over us. She'd asked if we could try again, but I'd shut that down with the truth. I'd seen her text to Ryan, plotting a getaway while I was crashing at Mike's. She didn't fight back, just shrank into herself, and I went to bed feeling like maybe I'd finally landed a hit she couldn't dodge. The next day, I woke up early, grabbed my coffee, and headed out to the porch. The barn stood there, solid as ever, mocking the mess inside the house. The roof leak had spread. Water was seeping into the living room now, staining the ceiling I'd painted 2 summers ago. Lila came out, wrapped in a robe, and stared at it with me. "Jake," she said, voice small, "I can't keep up with this. I called that Pete guy again, but he's ghosting me." I didn't say a word, just sipped my coffee. She waited, then sighed, and went back inside. I called Ellen, my lawyer, and told her about the mortgage mess, 3 months behind, all on Lila's watch. Ellen said, "Keep piling up the evidence, Jake. She's digging her own hole." That afternoon, Lila tried a new angle. She cooked dinner, first time in years, burnt chicken and lumpy mashed potatoes, but it was something. Sat me down at the table, all nervous smiles, and said, "Remember when we used to do this? Just us, no phones, no fights." I nodded, chewing slow, waiting for the catch. It came fast. "I've been thinking," she said. "Maybe we sell the place, split it fair, start over together somewhere smaller." I set my fork down. "Lila, there's no together left. I'm filing next week. Found an apartment already." Her eyes went wide, then hard. "You're throwing us away over some stupid mistakes?" I didn't rise to it. Told her the mistakes weren't stupid. They were choices, and I was done paying for them. She flipped then, tears turning to venom. Called me cold, said I never loved her, that I'd trapped her in this crappy life. I let her yell, then walked out to the garage, started packing my tools into boxes. Mike came by later, helped me load them into my truck. He asked how I was holding up. "Like I'm waking up from a bad dream," I said. He clapped my shoulder, said, "You're tougher than you think, man." That night, Lila posted online, some vague crap about betrayal and finding strength. Her followers ate it up, but I didn't care. Blocked her on everything. Next morning, I met Ellen at her office, a little brick building downtown with coffee that tasted like tar. She laid out the plan. File for divorce, split the debts, sell the house to cover what we could. Said the mortgage default and Lila's spending would tilt things my way if it got ugly. I gave her every scrap, photos of the leaks, bank records, texts, even that burnt chicken dinner as proof she was scrambling. Ellen grinned, said, "She's got no leg to stand on, Jake. Let's move fast." I left feeling lighter, like I could breathe again. Back home, Lila was waiting. She'd found a receipt for my apartment deposit in my jacket, $800 for a 1-bedroom across town. She waved it at me, screaming, "You're already gone, aren't you?" Just stringing me along. I didn't deny it. Told her I'd be out by Monday, that she could have the house till it sold, but I was done playing games. She threw the receipt at me, stormed off, and I heard her on the phone with Tara, sobbing about how I'd ruined her. Tara didn't buy it, texted me later, said Lila was spinning more lies, but she was done covering for her. Sunday hit, and the storm came back, fierce, with hail this time. The house roof caved in over the kitchen, a gaping hole letting rain pour through. Lila ran to me, soaked, begging me to fix it. I handed her a tarp from the garage, said, "You wanted this life. Handle it." Then I grabbed my bag and left for Mike's again. On the drive, I called Hank, told him I was ready to start my own crew. He laughed, said, "About damn time, kid. I'll spread the word." That night, Lila called 19 times, left voicemails about the roof, the mess, how she couldn't do this alone. I didn't pick up. The breaking point wasn't the roof. It was realizing I'd been holding it up for someone who'd let it crash on me without a second thought. I'm Jake Tanner, 34, and I'd just walked out of my house for the second time in a month, leaving Lila to deal with a hole in the kitchen roof after a hailstorm tore it open. My name's been tied to that place for 6 years, but I was done. Done fixing, done fighting, done pretending we had anything left to save. I told her I was filing for divorce, moving into an apartment Monday, and she could figure out the rest. That night, I crashed at Mike's again, his couch feeling more like home than my own bed ever did lately. My phone buzzed with 19 calls from Lila, her voicemails a mix of panic and guilt trips about the mess I'd left her in. I didn't listen past the first one, deleted them all, and turned the ringer off. Monday morning, I signed the lease on my new place, a 1-bedroom off Maple Street. Nothing fancy, just a clean slate with a decent view of the woods. Mike helped me haul my stuff over, my bed, a chair, my tools, and a box of clothes. We grabbed burgers after, sat on the tailgate of my truck, and I felt something shift. No nagging, no demands, just quiet. Mike asked what I'd do next. "Work," I said. "Build something for me this time." He He nodded, said, "You're free, man. Don't let her drag you back." I knew he was right, but freedom's a funny thing. Feels good, till the old habits try creeping in. Lila didn't let up. Tuesday, she started texting, sweet at first, saying she missed me, that the house felt wrong without me banging around in the garage. I didn't reply. By Wednesday, it was pictures, the kitchen flooded, a tarp flapping uselessly over the hole, her standing there with wet hair and a pouty face. Captions like, "This is what you left me with." She posted them online too, fishing for sympathy from her followers. I saw it through Beth's phone. She'd screenshotted it, laughing, said, "She's acting like you burned the place down, not like she ran it into the ground herself." I shrugged. Let her play the victim. I had Ellen and a stack of evidence saying different. Thursday, I met Hank at his place to talk business. He'd put out feelers for me, said a couple local guys needed roofs patched after the storm. "Start small," he told me, handing me a coffee in a chipped mug. "Build your name. You're good with your hands, better than most." I took the jobs, 2 small gigs, cash up front, enough to cover my rent and some tools I'd been eyeing. Driving to the first site, I felt alive, like I was moving forward instead of just holding up someone else's world. That night, I patched a widow's roof. Mrs. Carter, 70-something, who baked me cookies as thanks. No photos, no fuss, just a job done and a handshake. Felt better than any of Lila's likes ever did. Meanwhile, Lila's act was cracking. Tara called me Friday, voice low like she didn't want anyone hearing. Said Lila'd been cozying up to Ryan again. This guy she'd been texting behind my back. Tara'd seen them at the diner, him leaning close, her giggling like old times. When Tara asked, Lila said it was just coffee, but Tara wasn't buying it. "She's scrambling, Jake," Tara said. "Thinks he'll bail her out now you're gone." I asked if Ryan knew about the debt, the house. Tara laughed, said, "Not yet. He's in for a surprise." I thanked her, hung up, and figured Lila'd learn the hard way. Nobody's lining up to fix her messes for free. Saturday, Ellen called. Divorce papers were ready, filed that morning. She'd listed everything. The $24,000 in credit card debt Lila'd racked up, the mortgage default, the cash she'd siphoned. Said we'd push to sell the house, split what was left after debts, but Lila'd carry her card solo. "She'll fight," Ellen warned, "but she's got no ground. Stay sharp." I told her about Ryan, the texts, Lila's online pity party. Ellen said, "Keep it coming, every bit helps." That night, Lila showed up at my apartment, banged on the door, mascara streaking, yelling I couldn't do this to her. I didn't open it, just called the cops. They escorted her off, told her to cool it. She left me a voicemail after, sobbing, "You're breaking my heart, Jake." Funny, she'd been breaking my bank for years, and now I was the bad guy. Sunday, I worked the second roofing job, a young couple with a leaky garage. They paid fair, offered me a beer after, and we talked shop for an hour. Simple folks, no drama. Driving home, my phone lit up, Beth this time. Said Lila'd called Mom again, crying that I'd abandoned her, that the house was falling apart. Mom told her, "You made your bed, girl, lie in it." Beth added, "She's losing it, Jake." Posted some rant online about toxic men. Her followers are eating it up, but Tara's spilling the real story to anyone who'll listen. I think Beth said I was good. And I was, better than I'd been in years. Cutting ties ain't easy, but it's lighter than carrying dead weight. Lila could have Ryan, her followers, her crumbling house. I was building something new, and nobody was going to tear it down. I'm Jake Tanner, 34, and I'd just settled into my new apartment, a one-bedroom haven away from Lila and the chaos of our 6-year marriage. The divorce papers were filed, my tools were earning me cash again, and I was starting to feel like a man with a future, not just a mule hauling someone else's load. But Lila wasn't letting go easy. She'd shown up at my place last week, banging on the door till the cops hauled her off, and her voicemails kept coming. Tears 1 minute, venom the next. I'd stopped listening, but the noise of her still echoed in my head sometimes. Monday hit, and I was out on a job, fixing a barn roof for a farmer named Tom, a gruff guy with a handshake like a vice. The storm had ripped half his shingles off, and I spent the day up there, hammering away, sun beating down now that the rain had cleared. Tom watched me work, nodded approval, and paid me cash with a bonus for finishing quick. "Good hands," he said. "You ever think of going full-time solo?" I told him I was working on it, that my old mentor Hank was helping me line up gigs. Tom grinned, said, "World needs more like you. Folks who show up and get it done." I drove home with a full tank and a little pride. First time in a while, I wasn't just patching Lila's messes. Back at the apartment, I cracked a beer and checked my phone. Beth had texted. Lila was at it again, posting online about rebuilding after heartbreak, posing in front of the house with a caption about standing strong. The kitchen roof was still a tarp-covered wreck in the background, but her followers didn't care, showered her with hearts and "you go, girl" comments. Then Tara called, voice tight. Said Lila'd been out with Ryan twice more, dinner one night, drinks the next. "She's telling him you left her high and dry," Tara said. "He's buying it. Thinks she's some damsel in distress." I asked if Ryan knew about the $24,000 in debt or the mortgage mess. Tara snorted. Nope. She's playing him like a fiddle. Says she'll split the house money once it sells. I laughed. There'd be nothing left after the bank took its cut. Tuesday, Ellen called with an update. Lila's lawyer, a slick guy named Greg, all gelled hair and cheap suits, had responded to the filing. Tried claiming Lila deserved half my future earnings cause she'd supported my career by keeping the house running. Ellen shut that down fast, sent over the mortgage notices, the credit card bills, my photos of the leaks I'd stopped fixing. He's flailing, she said. Next meeting's Friday. Be ready for her to pull something. I told her about Ryan, the posts, Lila's act. Ellen said, perfect. She's showing her hand. Keep documenting. I hung up, feeling like we were closing in. Wednesday night, Mike swung by with pizza. We sat on my balcony, really just a concrete slab with a rusty rail, and he asked how I was holding up. Good, I said. Weird, but good. Like I'm me again. He nodded, then grinned. Heard Lila tried hiring some kid to fix the roof. Guy fell off the ladder, sprained his ankle, and bailed. She's out $200, and it's worse now. We laughed till my sides hurt. Felt good to see her flounder, even if it was petty. Mike said, she's learning life don't come with a Jake to fix it all. He was right. She'd leaned on me so long, she didn't know how to stand. Thursday, the fallout got real. Beth called, said Lila'd shown up at Mom's house, crying that I'd stolen her life. Mom, God bless her, didn't buy it. Told Lila, you stole his money, girl, don't come whining to me. Lila left in a huff, but not before Mom snapped a photo of her storming off, mascara running, and sent it to me with a text. She's a mess, son. You're better off. Then Tara texted, Ryan was backing off. He'd asked Lila about the house sale, and when she dodged, he dug around, found out about the debt from a mutual friend. Dumped her over coffee that morning. Tara said, she's spiraling, Jake. Called me screaming, said everyone's abandoning her. I didn't feel smug, just tired. She'd built this hole, and now she was stuck in it. Friday's meeting was a circus. Ellen and I sat across from Lila and Greg in a stuffy conference room. Lila looked rough, hair flat, eyes puffy, no makeup to hide it. Greg tried arguing I'd neglected the house, causing the damage, but Ellen slid over my pics of the barn I'd fixed, the kitchen I'd left when Lila took over. Then she dropped the bomb. Bank records showing Lila's transfers to her own account, plus texts to Ryan planning their fresh start. Lila lost it, sobbing. He's twisting everything. I was trying to save us. Greg looked like he wanted to bolt. Ellen stayed calm, said, sign the terms. House sells, debt split, no alimony, or we go to court, and you lose more. Lila glared at me, but I just stared back. She signed, hands shaking, and stormed out. Ellen clapped my shoulder, said, you're almost there, Jake. That night, I worked late on a porch job, simple repair, good pay. The client, a single dad named Chris, thanked me with a coffee and a story about his own divorce. Said it hurt, but he'd found peace after. I drove home under a clear sky, no storm in sight. Lila's world was falling apart. Ryan gone, friends fading, house a wreck, but mine was holding steady. The fallout was hers to carry now, and I wasn't looking back. I'm Jake Tanner, 34, and I'd just come out the other side of a 6-year marriage to Lila that had left me bruised but standing. The divorce papers were signed, the house was headed for sale, and I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment that felt more like home than that farmhouse ever did lately. Lila caved at the last meeting, faced with bank records, text to Ryan, and a roof she couldn't fix. She'd taken the deal, split the debts, sell the place, no alimony. I'd walked out of that room with Ellen grinning like we'd won a war, and maybe we had. Now it was time to see what came next. Monday rolled around, and I was back at work, building a deck for a family out on County Road 9. The dad, Chris, was the same guy I'd met a week back, the one who'd shared his divorce story over coffee. His kids ran around, laughing, while I sawed boards and drove nails, the sun warm on my back. When I finished, Chris handed me a check and said, you're good at this, Jake. Built something solid here. Hope you're doing the same for yourself. I nodded, said I was trying. Driving home, I passed the old house, saw a for sale sign in the yard, tarp still flapping over the kitchen. Felt strange, like looking at a ghost of my old life, but I didn't stop. Tuesday, Beth called. Said Lila'd moved out, rented a tiny studio downtown with what was left of her hairdressing cash. She's off social media, Beth told me, first time in years. Guess the strong woman act didn't sell when the house pics stopped coming. I asked about Ryan. Beth laughed, gone for good. Tara says he bailed when he realized she's broke, didn't sign up for a fixer-upper. I didn't feel victory, just relief. Lila was out of my orbit, and I could finally quit bracing for her next move. Wednesday, I got a surprise. Hank showed up at my place with a beat-up thermos of coffee and a proposition. Got a buddy with a big job, he said, leaning on my kitchen counter. New roof on a church hall, Storm took the old one clean off. Wants you to lead it. I told him you're ready. I stared at him, heart thumping. My own crew, my name on it, bigger than the patch jobs I'd been picking up. I said yes, shook his hand, and spent the night sketching plans, figuring costs. Felt like a kid again, dreaming up something real. Thursday, the house sale closed. Ellen called. After the mortgage and repairs, there was $4,000 left, split down the middle. Lila got her half. I got mine. Pocket change for 6 years, but I didn't care. The debt was hers now, and I was free. I put my $2,000 toward a new work truck, used, but solid, with room for my tools. Mike helped me paint Tanner Roofing on the side, sloppy but proud. We cracked beers after, toasted to new starts. He said, "You're a different guy, Jake. Lighter." I felt it. Shedding Lila was like dropping a sack of bricks I'd carried too long. Friday, I started the church job. Hired 2 guys, Tom's nephew, a wiry kid named Danny, and an old hand, Pete, who'd worked with Hank back in the day. We tore off the wrecked roof, hauled debris, laid new beams. The pastor, a quiet man with a gray beard, watched us work, said, "You're giving us more than a roof, hope, too." Paid us fair, even threw in lunch, sandwiches, and lemonade from the congregation. By dusk, we had the frame up, and I stood back, hands on my hips, watching the sun dip behind it. Solid work, built to last. No filters needed. Saturday, I bumped into Lila, literally, at the hardware store. I was grabbing nails. She was in line with a broom and a cheap lamp. We locked eyes, and for a second, it was like time froze. She looked worn, a hair tied back, no polish, cart full of basics. I nodded, she nodded back. We ended up at the coffee shop next door, awkward as hell, stirring our cups in silence. Finally, she spoke. "House sold. I'm in a studio now, working at the salon full-time. No more online stuff." I asked why. She shrugged, said, "Got tired of pretending. Lost more than I gained." Then, quiet, "I'm sorry, Jake. Screwed you over bad." I didn't say much, just that I was good now, building my own thing. She smiled, faint, said, "You always were the strong one." We left it there, walked out separate ways. Sunday, I finished the church roof. The crew nailed the last shingles, and the pastor shook my hand, said they'd call me for anything else. Danny and Pete asked if I'd keep them on. I said yeah, if the jobs kept coming. That night, I sat on my balcony, beer in hand, staring at the woods. My phone buzzed, Beth, saying Lila called her, not to complain, but to ask how I was. First time she'd cared in years. I texted back, "Tell her I'm fine." Mean it. Then I got a call, Tom, the farmer, saying word was spreading about my work. More gigs lined up. I hung up, leaned back, and let the quiet settle. It ain't a fairy tale. 6 years gone, money lost, scars left. But I tore down the old and built something new. Lila's finding her feet, maybe, and I'm finding mine. That church roof will stand through storms, like the barn did, 'cause I made it right. Sometimes you gotta lose everything to see what you're made of. I'm Jake Tanner, and I'm still here, hammer in hand, roof over my head, nobody else's weight to carry.